All right, let us waste no further time. Eric, welcome to Out of the Hourglass. Thank you for being here with me this afternoon, this morning, depending upon where you are. It's one or the other.
Yeah, this is exciting. Like I've done a few podcasts. This is probably the biggest one I've done so far. So I'm excited. Thanks for the opportunity to be able to do it.
Yeah, you bet. I'm excited to have you. This idea came from a mastermind conversation that you were having with your group. And Maureen, who was on that meeting or on the email, came to me and said, Eric's got a pretty cool story that I think would make for a great podcast conversation. And so I appreciate Maureen for seeing that and for you to being willing to kind of share and kind of bring us into your world. Before we jump into all of that, for those who don't have the pleasure of knowing you, can you give us a quick rundown of who you are, what you do, and where you're from?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Eric McDonald. I founded CHP Paint Co. Back in 2014. It was known as Custom Home Painters of Cheyenne for a while. But yeah, I've been running it since then. We are a household painting and commercial painting business. About 75% of our work is residential, about 25% is commercial. And then in 2019, we started concrete coatings. And that's now about just over 40% of our business. So it actually really is
Wow.
taken off. And so painting and concrete coatings is what we do here in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Nice, but you're not in Cheyenne, Wyoming right now, are you? Can you please tell the people where you're recording this from and how that's happening?
Yeah, so I'm in Maui, far away from Wyoming. We're right here on the beach, a stone's throw away from the waves, and we were watching whales jump out of the water this morning and sea turtles. And this isn't the only time that I do this, but it's probably the biggest break that I take over Christmas. And we've been doing it for 5 years now, where we all just wrap up. We kind of wrap up things that in the business, and we just take a couple. We literally take 2 weeks off, and it allows everyone to kind of have an off season, and it allows me to just completely unplug. Although I've noticed I don't unplug. I unplug physically, but
Yeah.
I actually my mind really is able to strategize and focus on 2023 and just be able to celebrate 2025 or the year previous, and
Hmm.
just be able to celebrate with my family and just enjoy ourselves. And we come back really inspired for the next year. And so we just that's what we do, and we go on a big trip and just have a good time.
I love it. So just beyond this Zoom screen that you're looking at, I'm imagining that you've got an ocean view right now.
I am looking at the ocean right
Oh,
now.
good for you. That's
Yeah.
better than probably any other view over any other guest that I've recorded with. So I'm happy for you. I hope we get a whale jump maybe once or twice during this. If you see one, just pause the podcast and say, "We got a whale. We got a whale."
Okay, sounds good.
So I love this for you. I think it's, not everybody is able to pull this off. But part of that, I think, is because just the concept of what this means to pull it off, to shut down your business for 2 weeks. So by shutting down, you mean everybody who works for CHP is currently off.
Yeah, the office works from home, so we
Okay.
still answer some phone calls and emails and so forth. And we have a little ring button that the customers can ring in and we can talk to them over that. But there's not a lot that happens in those
Hmm.
2 weeks. One of the reasons why we kind of shut her down is you kind of trip through those 2 weeks anyway.
Yeah.
And so we just made it official. So yeah, the feet on the street are completely off. Managers, I mean, they're all a phone call away at any point, and we do take phone calls. But yeah, I mean, there's no production happening.
We're going to talk about kind of how we got here because I think you mentioned to me there was kind of a breaking point. This is not something you've been doing for forever. That this action of kind of shutting down production, taking the 2 weeks away, started happening about 5 years ago. What was the breaking point, or what did the world look like kind of before you began taking this kind of new decision?
Yeah, and so it was in 2021. So I've been running a company for 8 years at that point, and I was just completely burnout, I would say.
Hmm.
So just to kind of give you an idea, like we were doing about 1.5 million in revenue. So I mean, not terribly large, but it was at that point where what does the owner do? I was literally everything. I was the
Yeah.
receptionist. I was the project manager. I did most of the estimates. I mean, it was essentially me, one not very good estimator, and then the crews, and it was like I think five crews at the time, and just completely burnt out. I remember waking up every day and just telling myself to grind through, and ended up being relatively profitable that year simply because I didn't have a lot of overhead or anything because I was literally doing so many jobs. But at the end of that year, I was just kind of done.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was going to do. There was a real big lull in work. I didn't have any work in January. Certainly, the end of December, there wasn't much, and but I was kind of fight or flight mode, and so I was literally like, well, we might not have a business next year if I don't do something. And so I told all the guys go on job attached unemployment, which it's essentially unemployment, but they don't have to look for other jobs. They can kind of
Okay.
on. They can kind of for like 3 months here in Wyoming. You can be on job attached unemployment. You get like at the time they got like $500 a week, but I was like, and I'm gone. I'm out. And that time we went to Florida, and I remember when my phone would ring, even on vacation, I'd get anxiety, and I don't struggle
Yeah.
with anxiety. I'm not that type of personality, but I was so done,
Hmm.
and we actually took 6 weeks off
Wow. Well,
that
clearly you
time.
needed it. That like you were having like a physical response to the
Yeah,
burnout and you needed to call a timeout.
I did. I 100% called a timeout, and so we stayed 2 weeks in Florida, and I came back and I had a month to just collect myself. And the guys were on a job attached unemployment, and so they were they were we kind of made a temporary solution there, and
Hmm.
we came back in February. But that's essentially how it started. It started out of me just not really having a choice. I just put myself in some bad situations mentally, and
Yeah.
just essentially kind of just had to take a break.
So that was kind of the moment that you realized something drastically had to change. Like you weren't going to be able to go into 2022 at the same pace, at the same, burnout level and be able to be okay. And the business wasn't going to survive that way.
Yeah, it was a fire drill. Every day
Yeah.
was a fire drill. It was miserable. I mean, I actually I made more money than I could working for someone else, but it didn't matter. I was miserable. Of course, this was 5 years ago, so I had a 1 year old, a 3 year old, and a 5 year old as well
Wow.
at the home. And it's just you're supposed to enjoy that time, supposed to be able to live in the present with them. But it was so far from that to where I mean it literally it was miserable being my own boss.
What were you able to, did you find yourself becoming more present in the 6 weeks that you took off that year? Did you find yourself like slowly like beginning to see, your normal self returning a little bit?
Yeah, I would say so. And, that was just the start of several years worth of trying to figure out how can I make this more sustainable? Because
Yeah.
2021 was not sustainable. And it definitely started. It started to, but did I have, the business I have now, 5 years later, starting February 2022, not even close. I still have the
Hmm.
same people. My culture is still poor. I was still the receptionist, still the
Yeah.
project manager, but I was able to kind of regroup and kind of reanalyze, and I got out of the dust storm of business. I was able to kind of be like, okay, how can I? It was kind of a hard stop, really. How can I
Hmm.
reevaluate and do this, and continue running on my own business,
Yep.
and enjoy myself a little bit.
With the crews being on the job, attached unemployment, the temporary solution, was it an overall okay reaction by them? Were you worried you were going to lose any of your top guys?
Yeah, they didn't like it. I will say
Okay.
at first, anytime you tell your employees to go file for unemployment at the unemployment office, it's not a good conversation.
Yeah.
And I think it was $500 a week, and you had to work for so many quarters to even get it. So there were some people who didn't even get it.
Oh, wow.
If they had got hired that year, they didn't even get it. And so I remember telling them, go Uber,
Yeah.
go DoorDash, go do something else to try and make some extra money. I tried to problem solve with them because I was like, because I'm out, guys. I'm
Yeah.
and honestly, I will say again, I didn't have a lot of top performers then anyway. I definitely needed to keep them around. For a while. I didn't have a lot going for me, to be honest with
Hmm.
you.
I appreciate you kind of just sharing kind of like the context and getting just vulnerable on like what you were feeling and what you were going through because I can only imagine that anybody who's been a business owner or who's listening to this right now has felt what you have felt at different periods. I mean, the weight of the backpack that you're carrying of a business and employees, your own well-being, your family's well-being, that's a lot of weight. And sometimes you just gotta drop the bag for a little bit and like have that reset. And from what I have heard from you and what we'll talk a little bit more about, the positive that's come really from all of this, the transformation that you've seen in your business since that reset, because it changed a lot. This is not just about shutting down for 2 weeks. This is about a major culture shift that has happened in your business and a happier you, happier employees, more time with your family. And ultimately, we have one life to live, and that's where the balance should be. So let's talk about kind of how this shutdown kind of created a bigger shift into putting employees first and your well-being first. What other major changes over these last 4 to 5 years have you put in place that have been a part of this kind of larger thinking?
Probably, I got a few points here. We went to a 4-day work week. We actually didn't go to that until 2023.
Okay.
So these are all slow changes, as I've figured out. Once you start asking your guys what they want, and
Yeah.
just do the work, it's amazing what they tell you. And I have a lot of younger employees, Gen Zs and millennials that work for CHP. And so you start asking them what they want. 4-day work week was like something that they think they could get, but they were like, man, if I could do that, that'd be amazing. So we went to that. And then in 2024, we went to kind of an incentive-based pay, where about 10 to 15% of their pay could be if they hit certain benchmarks, certain KPIs in the business. If they were under budget, if they, had so many callbacks, so few callbacks, and then if they didn't have any excused absences, they'd hit this particular budget. That was a huge game changer. I bit the bullet and did health insurance. They not all of them want health insurance. We offer health insurance, and it's actually good health insurance. It's not like $7,000 deductible health insurance just to check mark that off. It was actually something that was affordable to them.
It's huge.
Vision and dental insurance, paid time off. I tried to be like, what's the government offering people? Because this is a state capital, and so there's a lot of, as with anyone, you compete with the government, and so like, what are they offering that I could somehow offer people? And so those are some of the real big, like, hard things that we started to do.
What was the reaction when you began asking people what they wanted? First off, why did you ask them what they wanted? Like, when did this come in? Was this like middle of 2022 when you were like, I should start getting a better understanding of what matters to my people? So when did you start asking, and what was the reaction?
Yeah. So the reason I started asking was a paradigm shift that happened in my mind.
Okay.
I was so focused on satisfying the customer, and I pride myself in that. There's a problem to being completely customer focused, though, is you have these employees that know they come second or third or whatever. And I eventually figured out that if I can just serve my team, they will inherently serve my customers. I don't even have to worry about my customers. And it's amazing how you could say, oh, customers are absolutely most important part, but yet you still have all these customer issues and all these customer problems, and your culture's terrible, and you got all this turnover. It was like it's this hamster wheel. If you just want to serve customers, it's a hamster wheel that you get into. And so I eventually was like, all right, I'm not sure if I read a book. I'm not sure if it was an epiphany. I'm not sure. Maybe it was just a lot of different, introspection. I started asking my guys, what do you want? I became convinced if I can get my guys to fall in love with CHP, then my customers will fall in love with CHP.
Yeah.
And I just started asking questions. What do you guys want? All the way from pay, all of the PTO. Like, the biggest one was, man, if we could have a 3-day weekend.
Yeah.
Free weekend. I mean, wouldn't that be the coolest thing? They didn't believe I would give it to them.
They were dreaming. They were like,
Yeah.
well, if you ask us, we're going to dream here.
Right. Yeah. Because they're like, there's just no way. But, I'm not sure if one person was more bold to say it and then everyone else kind of got on board. And I started researching it, and there wasn't, and this is the younger generation. Other people were starting to do it. And so when we started doing it, it was their productivity. The biggest incentive my guys now have is a 3-day weekend. It's not the bonus. It's not anything. If they will work so hard and make sure there's no customer issues, because that's the penalty. If you have customer issues, callbacks, you got to do this on Friday.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
They work so hard, and they make sure that the customer is happy so they can have their Fridays off. Now, there's incentives and there's bonuses based on that, but you take that away, they are not happy hours anymore.
Yeah.
And
So,
so
any regrets with making that decision when and you implemented it in 2023? Is that what you
yes,
said?
in 2023, I
Okay.
implemented it without the incentive though.
Okay.
This kind of it's in progress here. The guys absolutely started loving it. So I can, some of the benefits that I found with it, not just on productivity, is you have a built-in Slack day every week.
Yep.
It rains, if you get behind on schedule, if someone pushes you out, whatever, you do have a built-in Slack day. Now, every once in a while, if you can get the guys to work the 5 day week, or a lot of times if it was rained out, they still can work a 4 day week. But my schedule became very controllable when I had a built-in Slack day every week.
Hmm.
When the management has a built-in day of, not really focused on management because they do work, the management does. And they have time to do walkthroughs. They have time to focus on next week's clients. They have time to focus on all those other things that
Yeah.
they need to focus on. That was a huge benefit as well. We are always on time or actually ahead of time now. I used to be always behind schedule. If you work
Isn't that
5 6 days
funny?
a week, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing. It's like it. You would think it's the other way around. You think,
Yeah.
oh, my guys could be working right now. It's Friday. It's beautiful out. They could be working right now. Problem is what I found is after about 40 hours or 45 hours, productivity would drop significantly. And you think, well, I billed out $80 an hour. I'm paying them time and a half. I'm still making money. But on paper, it might make sense.
Hmm.
But when it comes to productivity, my guys are producing over 100%, 110, 115% in those 4 days in order to make sure they have that time off. Versus if you take that away and you're working 5 to 6 days a week, productivity could have been 75%. I
Wow.
mean, way, way less. And you're paying them time and a half, and your gross wages just become out of control. And you're getting a lot done. You're producing revenue, but you're not productive. You're not
Yeah.
profit at all.
It's so interesting how it's the opposite of what one would think. Through the production shutdown, you also are still paying the guys, correct? That's also kind of a part of the benefit here.
Yeah, and so we offer PTO and all that stuff, but one thing that they know they get is they get 2 weeks off, and I just don't stop their payroll. It's not like I give them a
Hmm.
big bonus on Christmas Day or something. I just don't stop their payroll, so they get paid on every 40 hours
Okay.
for those 2 weeks that they're off, and yeah, I mean it does cost the company some money, but I make that up so fast. When you work a 4 day work week and when you're really producing at 110, 115%, there's money in the bank to pay them. Like there's plenty of money uh,
Yeah.
to pay them and have some time off. And it's a very high margin business that I've found,
Hmm.
and it really doesn't affect the finances. Now, I'm not a massive company. I got about 20 employees. And so I understand sometimes when you scale things, there's tipping points with everything. And
Hmm.
so, but all I got to say right now is where I'm at right now. I can absolutely afford it. No, no problem. I was just looking at the numbers. It looks like December is going to be about break even, maybe even make a little bit, but that's fine. The money that, in the region I'm in, you make all your money in the spring through the
Okay.
fall. Winter, there's not a lot of juice there, and so you try just to break even or make a little bit, but there's just not a lot there.
You've made investments in your people, in your culture, that have obviously been such an impact for the business, not only from a culture standpoint, but also, profitability standpoint. But a lot of this, I mean, there's mechanics to this. You are actively planning and budgeting for these things because we know that PTO, healthcare benefits, 4 day work weeks, these things cost money. So I can imagine listeners on here like, how do you afford that? Do you have to raise your prices? What do you do? Was there anything before we talk about like just the budgeting part, was there anything specifically that you had to do, especially in 2023 when you went to 4 days or the healthcare implementation that you had to do to make sure you could cover those costs?
I think initially you find yourself just biting the bullet. Like in order to
Hmm.
sign up, like, oh my gosh, you put it into your annual budget. You're like, that's gonna be a lot. My health insurance costs me 6 figures. But what I have found is that I actually make more money by doing it.
There you go.
I've been more profitable in 23, 24, and in 25 by percentage. And we're increasing in revenue as well. That all that stuff it completely makes up. When your guys are not burnout in August and they're just trying to get to the interior season in November or December, and they're just trying to get through it, they are not working at a very productive pace. If you can have your guys work at a productive pace all year long, you kill it. You really do. And that makes up for anything. Unless you're just going to be frivolous about it, but it'll make up for any benefit that you give them if they can be producing above 100% or even at 100%. I've raised hourly prices a little bit as inflation, but that wasn't it. It was my guys are out there. They want to make sure they have a 3-day work week. They're gonna work hard. I always think it's funny how people are like, oh, these subcontractors, they work so much faster. Are these people superhuman? Like, what's different about a subcontractor and your employees? Well, it's how they get paid. It's how they're incentivized. They don't get paid.
Yeah.
Job is done. They have to make sure all this quality is there. And so I just have built-in incentives, and I don't try to like squeeze every ounce of energy out of them every week. I want to make sure they got energy for the next week and the next week, next week. And I want to make sure they're happy. The second I feel that they are burnt out, I know I'm going to start losing money, or not making as much. And culture is going to go down, and quality is going to go up, or quality issues are going to go up. It all starts to kind of spiral out of place if you don't work on it. So I became more profitable, and I know you kind of asked for some metrics of kind of what it is. So in 2023, my gross wages for painting, this was the biggest one. Painting is kind of more heavy on the labor side than concrete coatings. Was 41%, so really high, pretty poor. This doesn't even include payroll burden. And then from 2024, I started, 2023 to 2024, I kind of started 4-day work week in incentives to try to get stuff done quicker with better quality, not a lot of unexcused absences, and it dropped to 30.
Wow.
Okay. 41.
That's huge.
Yeah. And this is right out of the Nolan workbook. And so
I was like, people during benchmarking are probably looking at this and saying, Eric, how did you do this?
Yeah, right. That's the beautiful thing about the Nolan workbook is, I wouldn't have known this side of the Nolan workbook. And so that was a huge increase in productivity. And then in 2025, we still dialed it in, and I was at 27 this year, 27% gross profit. Oh, no, sorry. Gross wages.
All done.
And when you're hitting those benchmarks, there's cash in the bank. There really is. And your people are happy. And I tell you what, my customers have never been more thrilled. We ask them.
Any pushback from customers on only working 4 days? Like, anybody ever say to you, can you please work a fifth? I want to get this done faster. What's your response to that?
Never. So we work for homeowners and business owners. We're pretty in control of our schedule. If I work for GCs, or if I work for, I don't know, some other big conglomerate that, demands stuff of their subcontractors, I might, but we don't work for those people for many reasons. One being that I want to have good culture, right? And I don't, it can be difficult to work for them at some point. So no, never. And honestly, even with the break, very rarely do we ever have an issue being like, oh, I want you to work this time. Honestly, we had so today we started again. The company started today. This is the 5th of
yes.
And we're starting a big $150,000 commercial project. I could have started it 2 weeks ago, but I just told them, I was like, we're going to take some weeks off, and they're like proud of me to do it.
Yeah. Well, that was my reaction when I first heard about this. I was like, that's really cool. Like, that takes it takes a lot of, I don't want to say the word guts, but it takes a lot of forethought to be able to do this and to do it right and with intentionality. And that's what you've done. It's taken a couple years to get here, but like, it's really cool that this is the world that you've created for yourself and for your team.
There's almost like this jealousy that you hear on the other side of the phone. And
yes.
I've even had a few people say, can I come work for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
a 40 work week sounds great.
Yeah. A 4-day work week with 2 weeks off would sound amazing. And so, no, I haven't had any pushback. All I've actually had was compliments.
That's awesome.
And, we do have some maintenance contracts as well. I can think of one right now, which is Microsoft that we do. And they're completely fine with being like, okay, that's great. Yeah, we'll see you on Monday, January And if you just explain yourself and kind of the whole reason who we are and why we can serve them so well, they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
There's so often this, like for a lot of businesses, whether you're in the trades or wherever you are, there's such middle ground as to what happens between the last 2 weeks of the year. Close some days, open some days, those who are working, what's their productivity like? I mean, it's such a range. And for you to have kind of just like clarity on this is what we do and be able to explain that, the clarity is what people appreciate. It's not might you be there, might you not be there, and are the guys going to want to be here? It's that clarity that people appreciate, that expectations. When it comes to budgeting, so I'm sure that you've done your budget for 2026. Do you actively plan for a loss in December? Like, what does this look like all from a budgeting perspective?
So I love the Nolan workbook. Again, I'll give that a shout out. That's been the biggest
Appreciate that.
improvement over the past couple of years. But in the Nolan workbook, you put how many days of the month you want to work. There's literally something in there. And for December, I can't remember what it was, if it was 14 or it was certainly less. So yes, it gets budgeted in there. It's not like this. It's not just some, oh, I was random. I guess I'll lose some money in there. So yeah, it's all put in there. So how I do budgeting is I don't really care about the top line number. I don't really care about revenue. I could get into, maybe we will get into that a little bit. I care about the bottom line number. I have a specific bottom line number that I want to get to, and I essentially kind of build a business to meet that number. And so the top line is kind of arbitrary.
Yeah.
Revenue is kind of arbitrary, but the bottom line and how I get there and different percentages are very specific. And so yeah, it's all just built in. And honestly, I used to lose a lot of money in the winter, but as we've gotten better at just various things and we're getting bigger and getting more winter work, a lot of times it's more just like break even, maybe a little bit of a loss, which is fine. And I think a lot of painting companies experience that. If you're kind of have an off season, you do
Yeah.
lose some, and let's just say if I worked those 2 weeks and I made an extra $5,000. I mean, literally, it wouldn't be that much more. It really wouldn't. Maybe let's call it 10,000. I make that up so fast in March, April, May, June, July. I mean, you got 11 and a half other months there that it really doesn't influence that. Now, if I had a really low margin business, it would be more difficult for sure.
Yeah, but you don't. And so you have really prioritized that bottom line number. That's the goal, which I love that you said that. Any one of our coaches who listens to this podcast and hears that statement will be like, that's like music to their ears. Colin talks about this all the time. So many business owners are just going after that top line revenue number without fully understanding that the bottom line is really what matters at the end of the day. So you have shifted. That's another paradigm shift. You have shifted that focus, because was it always that way for you?
I mean, you're kind of predestined to believe that. Every book you read that I actually enjoy reading, it's all about revenue. It's all about 10xing your business. So they're talking about 10xing your revenue. You go to these conferences. How big of a business are you? You're talking about revenue. The bigger the revenue is, the more successful you are. This is the thought. The more employees you have, the more successful you are, and it's just not true. I mean, it really isn't. And you might be successful. I mean, but you might not. I mean,
Yeah.
and I was shocked to you kind of talk to some people and you're shocked to hear that my little podunk business is actually more productive than a far bigger one, and they're struggling. And I'm enjoying myself here. And so revenue is vanity, profit is sanity. I mean, that I think we've all heard that before. Yes. And it is so true, but we think, well, I mean, there's more profit in if I get this big contract, whatever it might be, or if I get with this GC. I honestly sometimes believe you're selling your soul when you get on these big contracts. They can be great, but oh boy, I've never had a good success. I've never had good success with these massive contracts where you kind of lose your business ownership. Honestly.
Yeah.
We have this Venn diagram. I wanted to mention this.
Yes, please.
We have this Venn diagram, and it's on the wall, and it's essentially 3 different circles, and all the circles, they kind of overlap each other. And in the middle, all 3 of them overlap. Can you kind of understand?
Yeah.
Okay. And one circle is productivity, one circle is customer satisfaction, and one circle is culture. And this is like my compass. And it's literally how I make decisions. How will pursuing this revenue, whatever it might be, or this customer, this type of revenue, this location, how is it going to affect customer satisfaction, and productivity. Sometimes it can inhibit your growth, your revenue growth, because you kind of restricted yourself. But it's the cream of the crop revenue to where I'm going to build a business that can produce that type of revenue. I'm going to have the best culture. I'm going to have my customers are going to be very happy. They're not going to be pains in the bus to work for, and I'm going to be profitable. So many people when they build a business plan, it's all about revenue. They don't, and it's just caution to the wind. It's okay. Well, I want to grow at any cost. Well, and then they wonder why their culture is poor, or they wonder why it's a fire drill every day, or they're completely stressed or burnt out. Oh, it's because you're pursuing the wrong thing blindly. Now, I mean, we're growing. So our revenue grew by 30% last year.
Amazing.
Yeah, and so like you can still grow, but and if you're growing with the right revenue, you're fine. But so many people are just growing with the wrong revenue. There's not a lot of margin there, and they're stressed. Their guys are burnt out, and they're just kind of stuck.
Yeah, there's this idea that if I get just that next revenue level, things will get better. But the reality is you're in that cycle where you're just repeating the same behaviors and not changing anything. And that's how you get stuck.
Yeah, I think some people think that's just what business is, and 9 out of 10 businesses fail. You start saying all business is tough, and they say, yeah, it is, because it is. But and some people just believe that's just how it is. That
like, there's a better side to this.
It must be just a grind.
Yeah.
But no, there's you actually can enjoy yourself while running a business. You can, and it all comes down to culture. It really does. But some people just don't believe that. They just believe that's how it is.
So this Venn diagram, that's your North Star. That's what you kind of filter everything through.
Everything, yep.
Yeah.
If it's going to affect if it's going to affect our quality, if it's going to affect our productivity or our culture, and like literally to the point where if we're starting, like I have fired GCs. I'm the one working for them, and I've told them I'm done. Like I am sick of this, and because my guys come back, they complain, and a lot of times when they complain, a lot of times quality is poor, a lot of times productivity is poor. It's just your indicator. If they don't like doing something every week, then I will reevaluate and say, is this revenue worth it? And a lot of times it's not.
What's really cool is that you really take your employee feedback from the initial ideas about what matters most to them to what their experiences are like working for a GC. You're not just like asking for feedback and just for the practice of doing it because you're supposed to. You're actually doing it so that you can actually impact policy and impact, how the business is going to move going forward. And that in itself, I mean, that there's culture right there. That has to have such like larger though impact on the business and how people want to work for you. I mean, I can only imagine like what is recruiting like for you now? Like has the brand that you've created and the known culture that's in place, because people talk, has that become a recruiting advantage for CHP?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I mean, like when I have to hire people, and I always do it in the spring, it's just kind of our business model. I'll bet half of the people come from just a word of mouth through my employees. In fact, just over break, just unsolicited, I had one of my foremen say, "Hey, when we're hiring, I got some unsolicited. I actually do. I give them $100 if I get an interview, and I have incentives built around there, but just kind of unsolicited, and because they enjoy where they want to work, and they want their friends to work with them as well, and it has really transformed everything, and recruitment is one of those for sure. Now I still have turnover, and I still have to interview a ton of people in order to find those right people. So it's not just super easy, but it is far easier than it used to be. That's for sure.
Yeah, ultimately, you need to protect your culture even more now. I mean, you've got such an amazing thing that you've built, and you got to bring in the right people with the right values who are going to respect that culture and not, break it or cause a kink in it. I mean, that's something to be protected.
Yeah, my biggest litmus test when I interview now is, can they fit in with who I already have? I've referred to my company as a little frat, and it truly is. I mean, the oldest person I have working for me is 42.
Okay.
I have a lot of kids in their 20s that work for me. It's just who applies, and that's kind of people entering into the workforce, and you got to cater to that. And I think some people would think I have like a little frat going on, and they'd almost be like embarrassed to work here. But like we have fun, and they're energetic, and if you convince them that or if they understand why they're working there, they'll be very loyal to you.
Yeah.
And so hard. And so yeah, they love it, and they want all their friends to work here as well.
Yeah, why not work with your friends? Besides the business and besides the culture and the profitability and all, all the things that have you've seen change for the better since this movement in 2021, 2022. How has this shutdown helped you? I mean, here you
Mm.
are, like you said, you're in Maui with your family, you're there for, 7, 10 days. I mean, that alone is amazing. But how do you spend your time when you're away? Like, what does this mean for you?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And on a personal note, I've been talking about the business, but on a personal note, I actually have the time and the energy, not just on this vacation, but throughout every week, to actually enjoy my family and not be so taxed and not be so just burdened and frustrated and upset where I can't even focus on them. It's actually a life worth like living. I know it sounds kind of dramatic, but it can get very, very frustrating. And so what this break does, what good culture does, is it affords me the ability to actually live in the present with my family.
Yeah, it's huge.
Now they're 10, 8, and 6. They're
Hmm.
growing up, and they will be gone. They will be gone eventually out of the house, and I will have lost that time. And who cares? Even if I was super successful, if I lost that time, does it? I mean, why? The purpose is gone. And so I want to live in the present, and good culture, and these times away where I can trust my guys is essentially a saving grace to my own mental health and to my family and to my wife. And I'm not just a business owner. I'm very involved in the Christian church.
Hmm.
I have time for that, and other things other than just running a business.
It allowed you to explore like other parts of like give energy to other parts of your identity at the end of the day.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
which that's huge. What has been kind of a highlight of this particular trip so far for you?
Oh, the highlight.
Or highlights? There can be more than one.
Yeah. I think the overall highlight is that I can do it with
Yep.
and my kids can enjoy this, and we're not we're it just isn't breaking me. We
Hmm.
can still do it. We come back, and it's not necessarily killing us, but just being able to just, I don't know, watch the whales jump up, swim with the sea turtles. Snorkeling is everywhere. Each beach is different here, so it's so
Hmm.
phenomenal. But just and seeing Erin, my wife, is just so she's at home here.
Yeah, just happy.
And seeing that smile, and just being able to just celebrate. This is a time of celebration for us, of a great year,
Hmm.
of health, of youth, all those different things. That's what we're experiencing right now. And I'm ready. Honestly, I'm ready to go back. And when we go back, we're gonna hit hard. We're gonna hit it
Yep.
really hard. And I'm inspired to hit it hard. All my guys are inspired to hit it hard. I read a couple books over there. I read the book Organizational Muscle that was written by Kevin, your uncle, right? Kevin?
Yeah, by Kevin Nolan.
Yeah, it was so good. And
Yeah.
I was able to read that and a couple other ones. I just, you come back with such fire, and you hit the ground running, and you make up that so fast compared to just going all year long.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, the ages that your kids are at now, 10, 8, and 6, like these are memories that like they will have for forever. Like
Mm.
these core memories, these times with mom and dad, being at the beach. And that's so cool because when they do leave the home, when they are 18, they do go to college, like you will also look back very fondly on these times and be so grateful for the lifestyle changes that you made for yourself and for the business. Which is why I ask you, for anybody who's listening here who like thinks I could never shut down for 2 weeks, what would you say to them?
I could never shut down for 2 weeks. Well, I would say you're the business owner. You can do whatever you want, uh,
Yes.
but you have to be responsible about it.
Or even attached to that, like advice for that culture building piece, because the 2 weeks is really a small piece of the larger culture shift.
There was I'll answer it this way. You kind of you wrote me like what's a good culture advice to someone that might be burnout, or
Yeah.
that can't afford that. And essentially, I've kind of already said it, but I got a couple different answers here. Baking your culture into your business plan is very important, and what that doesn't mean is that doesn't mean put another expense item that says employee appreciation into your budget. That's not it. That's
Yeah.
literally pursuing the correct revenue. And you're getting feedback from your guys if it is the correct revenue. I know that sounds so backwards, like no, I'm finding jobs, you go do it. But I literally get feedback from my guys, from my customers and from my guys of how things were. And I want to pursue revenue that they enjoy, because I know if they're enjoying it, they're going to be productive, and they're going to serve the customers, and culture is going to be great. And so, that's kind of how you bake your culture into a business plan. In the Nolan workbook, there's no like page that you go to that says culture and you put
Right.
numbers.
Yeah.
Like, how do you do that? That's kind of how I do it, is kind of what revenue you're even pursuing. The big thing that I have found is how do you get your feet on the street bought into your culture? I think that is probably the biggest issue that I see people having. Is a lot of times maybe the business owner or the office staff, they may be kind of bought into it, but then there's this huge disconnect between them
Yep.
and the feet on the street. And honestly,
Yep.
the feet on the street are the most important ones by far. They're the ones that the customers are interacting with. They're the ones that are serving. They're the ones fulfilling all the promises. And so we, over the past, this actually happened this past year in 2025, is every meeting, every Wednesday morning meeting, we have our operations meeting, and we had a goal of how many Google reviews we could get, and a goal of how many referrals we can get from the guys. I pay them more, but what I started to do is I don't just pay them for it. I literally read those reviews in the meeting, and I start clapping at them, and then everyone else starts clapping, and you literally just applauded your feet on the street for a job well done. And you start doing that every week and then with referrals. I give my guys $100 if they give me a referral. We don't even have to book the job, just $100.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about, I don't just give them $100 and say, hey, we did that bid and we got it, and look, and Abe's doing it next week. And we kind of, you don't just give that incentive, you actually kind of
You recognize it. You recognize them by name, and that's huge.
Yep, you absolutely do. And then we use Company Cam. And how can you use Company Cam for culture? We literally go through the Company Cam photos of the last week, and it's like their little highlight reel for the past week.
Yeah.
Let's just say there was a customer that had all these colors. We'll go through that job, and everyone's there looking at it, and it's like, and they get to show off what they did, and they actually they do some funny things in there. They do some dance offs. They use AI and do some funny things, and we laugh in our
Yeah.
meetings. And so every week, we used to have the most dry meetings. So it was like, why do we even have these? Now they're actually contributing to the meeting through Company Cam, through reviews, through referrals, and we talk about it. And I hand out cash, when for incentives, but I actually recognize them and I celebrate with them those little moments. And if you do that week after week after week, your guys will start to change. It really will. You're benefiting from it because you're getting reviews, you're getting referrals, and so do they. And that's been the biggest thing, is really applauding them for a job well done. Or maybe there was a customer that was really tough to work with, and you call them up, or in the meeting you say, hey, we just called this person, and they were happy. And you tell them that it was all the work was worth it in front of everyone.
Yeah.
That really influences your feet on the street culture, and they will reciprocate that back to you if they feel appreciated. How do they do it? How does the right person do it? They serve your customers better than they ever have.
I love that piece of advice because it's something that anybody here listening can implement. It's taking that one extra step with the reviews that are being received or the referrals, and actually putting recognition to the people on the team who are help making that happen. They're being shown that they all play a part in the large. They bring value to the large organization. So it's such good stuff. Eric, any final words before we say goodbye?
No, I just appreciate I appreciate the opportunity with Nolan. So I've been with you guys for two full years. I think in 2020, late 2023, early 24, I started, and it's been remarkable. It's been a lot of fun being plugged into the network. And you guys have really benefited me personally and my company greatly. And it's been a lot of fun. I've been able to enjoy running a business, and I can't say I actually did for the first 10 years. I mean, it was, you did it, you grinded through it. You stopped out what it was, but there's actually some enjoyment in it if you do it right. And I just appreciate you guys and all the help you've given us. So, but yeah, culture. Culture solves everything.
Culture sauce. Yep. What's the? I think it's the Peter. I'm saying his name wrong. Peter Drinkage. Culture eats problems for breakfast.
Yeah, that's right.
That I might be saying the name wrong. We have it hanging up in our office here because we believe so strongly in that. But culture is huge. I mean, our summit culture is huge, and it's people like you, Eric, who help make what we do better and help, connecting and sharing best practices with other business owners. Which just, it elevates the industry. It elevates the ability of knowing what it means to be a business owner and how to do it without continuing to grind. Persistence you had for sure those first 10 years where it was rough, but I'm grateful that you had that mind shift, that kind of realization that it wasn't working and you need to step away because life would have looked really different otherwise. But you took the risk and look where you are now as a result. So thank you for sharing. This was really fun. I hope to visit another conversation in the future because I always enjoy kind of seeing where people are at and what's happened since then. But in the meantime, you've got a couple more days left in Maui, so I think we should let you go so you can enjoy that with your family.
All right, that sounds great. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Eric.
All right, thank you so much.